All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into this review of Adolescence on Netflix.
Oh yeah, this one looks intense.
Yeah, you sent this to us wanting to get a sense of the show and the issues it brings up without actually having to watch the whole thing.
Right, exactly. Like, who has the time?
Seriously, so we're going to try and break down all the important stuff from the review for you.
And I gotta say, the reviewer doesn't waste any time getting to the heavy stuff.
No kidding. It sounds like it throws you right into the deep end.
Totally.
The series starts with a 13-year-old Jamie Miller getting arrested for murdering a classmate.
Wow. Okay.
But the reviewer makes it super clear that this isn't some typical whodunit mystery.
Gotcha.
The focus is really on everything that leads up to that moment and all the hidden stuff going on within the families.
Makes sense. So, what's going on beneath the surface?
Exactly. And the reviewer's initial reaction is really powerful. They talk about feeling cracked open by how intense it is.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, this show is hitting some really raw nerves.
Right, it's tapping into something we're all kind of worried about. The pressures kids face these days and whether we can really protect them.
I think that's a huge part of it, and the review specifically calls out the performances, especially Stephen Graham and Sharon Horgan as Jamie's parents.
Oh, wow. They're both incredible.
Right, and the reviewer talks about how heartbreaking their performances are, all this confusion and helplessness.
I can see that.
It's not about placing blame, it's more about showing that exhaustion that parents feel, and the painful reality that even if you love your child, it might not be enough to keep them from going through some awful stuff.
That's so real, that feeling that you should have all the answers and the devastation when you realize you don't.
Exactly. And then you have Owen Cooper playing Jamie.
What did they think of him?
Oh, they called his performance terrifyingly subtle.
Interesting. What do they mean by that?
It's this unsettling contrast between him seeming like a lost little boy and then also having this kind of unreadable quality that's kind of creepy.
I bet that adds to the tension.
Absolutely, and it makes you think about how much teenagers can hide, how hard it can be to really know what's going on inside.
Especially at that age when they're figuring so much out.
Totally, and even the way the show is filmed adds to this whole feeling.
Really?
The reviewer mentions the single take format, calling it brutal, beautiful, and intimate in the most uncomfortable way.
So no cuts, no escape.
Exactly, and it's there's no emotional escape for the characters or the viewers.
That's intense.
Yeah, they specifically point to Jamie's therapy session in the 3rd episode.
Oh, wow.
They call it a moment of raw, quiet devastation, and it's made even more powerful by this format where it's just unrelenting,
I can imagine that would be really hard to watch.
It sounds like it, and what's interesting is that this whole format makes the themes even more intense.
Which are?
Well, the reviewer highlights things like the struggles young people face today with toxic online spaces and what they call emotional illiteracy.
Interesting. I haven't heard that term before. What do they mean by it?
It seems like it's about this difficulty in understanding and expressing feelings, not having the words or the tools to deal with all these intense emotions.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a problem, especially with all the pressure kids are under.
And then there's the silence, where there really should be open communication.
Makes sense. Sometimes it's easier to just shut down.
Exactly. And the reviewer says the show doesn't try to provide easy answers.
Good, because there probably aren't any.
Right. It's more about forcing us to really face these uncomfortable truths about what it's like to be a teenager and to parent a teenager.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, making people think.
Yeah, and the review picks out some really important questions the show raises.
Like what?
Questions about boys and vulnerability and the immense pressure parents feel to have all the answers, and what happens when we fail to really see each other and understand what someone else is going through.
Powerful stuff.
And they also talk about the silence in the show, the way it's almost a character in itself, the weight of all the things that aren't being said.
I like that the unspoken stuff can be so loud.
Right, and even the title, Adolescence, the reviewer finds some irony in it.
How so?
Well, we usually think of adolescence as this phase you go through, right?
Yeah, like a transition period.
But the series makes it seem more like a war zone.
Wow, that's a strong image.
Yeah, and the reviewer is pointing out that this show is saying teenagers are often left to navigate this really difficult time without enough support.
That's a tough reality to face.
It is, and ultimately the reviewer sees Adolescence as more than just a show. They call it a reckoning.
A reckoning, wow.
Yeah, it made them uncomfortable. It forced them to really think about things and even sparked this desire to be a better listener.
That's amazing if a show can do that.
Yeah.
Really make you want to change.
Right, and they strongly recommend it, especially for anyone who's involved in the lives of young people, whether it's parents, teachers, or anyone who cares about this generation.
So it's a must-watch for anyone working with kids.
It sounds like it. So to sum up, the review paints a picture of this really intense and emotional series that digs into family secrets and all the complicated challenges of being a teenager.
And the powerful performances and the unique way it's filmed really add to the impact.
Exactly. And hopefully this deep dive has given you a good grasp of the key takeaways from the review and what the series is all about.
Yeah, exactly like you were hoping for.
And it leaves us with this question to think about. The reviewer kept coming back to these silences and this lack of genuine connection.
Right.
So what about in our own lives or communities? What are some of the subtle signs that someone might be struggling silently that we might be missing?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a great question to think about, for sure.
Definitely food for thought.
Absolutely.